No one, not even Alexandra Grant herself, ever imagined this would happen. One moment, she was just an artist attending a charity event. The next, Hollywood's most private man, Keanu Reeves, looked her straight in the eyes and said words that would change everything. What started as friendship turned into a love story the world never saw coming. And it all began the night Alexandra Grant realized. Keanu Reeves wanted her to be his date. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now let's dive into what really happened. It all began on a quiet, golden evening in Los Angeles, the kind of evening where the city seems to hum softly beneath the fading sun. Inside a grand hotel ballroom, laughter echoed, glasses clinked, and flashes from cameras painted the room in bursts of white light. Celebrities mingled, journalists whispered, and the atmosphere buzzed with that typical Hollywood energy. But away from the crowd, at a corner table near the tall glass windows, sat Keanu Reeves, the man everyone admired yet few truly knew. His calm eyes stared out at the city lights below, lost in thought. He had been to countless charity events like this, red carpets, fake smiles, endless conversations that never went deeper than surface-level compliments. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the silence he craved. Maybe it was the emptiness behind all the glamour. Or maybe, deep down, he was just tired of pretending everything was fine when his heart quietly longed for something real. And then she appeared. Through the entrance, under the soft golden lights, walked Alexandra Grant, elegant, confident, and effortlessly graceful. She wasn't wearing diamonds or designer glitter, just a simple gray gown that reflected the light like silk. Her smile wasn't loud or showy. It was calm, genuine, the kind that made people feel seen. For a moment, Keanu's world seemed to pause. The noise faded, the laughter blurred, and his gaze followed her across the room. There was something about her presence, an energy that felt peaceful, grounding, almost familiar. Alexandra had no idea she was being noticed. She was there to support an art foundation, talking to curators and friends, completely unaware that fate had already written a new chapter for her life that very night. Keanu didn't approach her immediately. He watched from a distance, quietly intrigued, the way an artist studies a masterpiece, not to possess it, but to understand it. Little did Alexandra know that simple evening, meant only for art and conversation, would become the night Keanu Reeves gathered the courage to ask her out, setting in motion a love story neither of them ever saw coming. Years before that unforgettable night, fate had quietly crossed their paths. Keanu Reeves had attended one of Alexandra Grant's art exhibitions, not as a celebrity, but as a quiet visitor who wanted to disappear among the colors on the walls. He stood there for a long time, staring at her paintings, the ones that spoke of loss, healing, and the beauty hidden in pain. Those paintings moved him because they mirrored something he carried deep inside. Alexandra, noticing the tall man who seemed more like a listener than a viewer, walked over and began to talk about her work. Their first conversation was short but genuine. No small talk, no pretense. Just two souls connecting over art and emotion. That was the start of a friendship that grew naturally over the years. They shared coffees, collaborated on book projects, and often sat in quiet company, saying little but understanding much. But that night, the charity dinner in Los Angeles, something shifted. When Keanu saw her walk in, he didn't just see an artist he admired. He saw the calm in her presence, the confidence in her walk, and the warmth in her smile, a smile that didn't treat him like a movie star, but like a man simply existing in the same world. When her eyes met his across the crowded room, the noise faded again, just as it had before. Later that evening, they found themselves talking in a quiet corner, far from the flashing cameras. They spoke of art, life, grief, and hope. Keanu opened up in a way he rarely did. About loneliness, about the search for meaning. Alexandra listened, not trying to fix him, just hearing him. She laughed at his gentle humor, surprised by how light his presence felt once the walls came down. When the night came to an end, Keanu insisted on walking her to her car. The air was cool, the city calm. There was a moment of silence, the kind that feels like the start of something. Then, with a shy half-smile, he said softly, "Would you have dinner with me sometime? Just us." Alexandra froze for a second, then laughed nervously. "Wait, Are you asking me on a date? Keanu's eyes softened. Yeah, I think I am. She never expected it. Not from him, not from the man the world adored, but who lived quietly in his own shadows. And yet, with a smile that said more than words, she said yes. Their first date wasn't like anything you'd expect from a Hollywood love story. There were no red carpets, no expensive restaurants, no crowds waiting with flashing cameras. Instead, Keanu Reeves arrived at Alexandra Grant's home on a quiet Sunday afternoon, dressed simply in jeans, a black jacket, and that calm, humble smile that always seemed to hide 1,000 untold stories. When she stepped outside, she couldn't help but laugh softly. "A motorcycle?" she said, raising an eyebrow playfully. Keanu grinned. "Best way to see the world," he replied, handing her a helmet. And just like that, they rode off down the coastal highway, the cool wind brushing past, the ocean waves glimmering under the setting sun. There were no paparazzi chasing them, no noise, no chaos. Just two souls finally free, escaping the expectations of the world. They stopped at a small, hidden cafe by the beach, the kind of place only locals knew about. The scent of sea salt mixed with fresh coffee and soft jazz played in the background. No one cared that the man sitting by the window was Keanu Reeves, the movie star. Here, he was just a man, and she was just a woman, both seeking peace in the presence of each other. Keanu ordered a cup of tea. Alexandra ordered coffee. And for the next 3 hours, time seemed to stand still. They talked, really talked, about art, childhood dreams, loneliness, and the strange, fragile beauty of life. Alexandra found herself listening deeply. Keanu wasn't just kind. He was real, a man who had walked through pain yet never let it make him bitter. His humility, his honesty, and his quiet strength touched something deep within her. And for Keanu, Alexandra was unlike anyone he had ever met. She wasn't dazzled by his fame or fortune. She didn't ask for stories of Hollywood or his movies. Instead, she asked about his favorite books, his art, his fears. She wanted to know the man behind the silence, the heart behind the legend. By the time the stars filled the sky, neither wanted the night to end. There was no need for grand words or promises. They both knew, in that quiet, gentle space, that something rare had begun, something real, fragile, and worth protecting. In the months that followed their first date, something gentle and beautiful began to unfold. What started as friendship quietly blossomed into love, not rushed, not forced, but natural, like the slow blooming of a flower under morning light. Keanu and Alexandra found joy in the simplest things. They painted side by side in her studio, the room filled with the smell of fresh paint and the sound of quiet laughter. Sometimes, Keanu would read poetry out loud while she worked, his calm voice blending perfectly with the rhythm of her brushstrokes. Other evenings, they would walk to the park, hands brushing together, sharing stories that no one else would ever hear. But behind that growing love was also a shared understanding, the need to protect it. Keanu had seen how fame could twist something pure, turning love into a headline. He didn't want cameras, questions, or rumors to invade the fragile peace they had built together. So, they kept their relationship private. No public appearances, no interviews, no declarations on talk shows. Just two people, living quietly, creating art, sharing books, and finding beauty in being unseen. Alexandra would often smile and say, "He makes ordinary moments feel extraordinary." And Keanu, ever the humble soul, would reply with that gentle grin, "That's because you make life feel real again." It was a love built on stillness, no drama, no performance, just connection. Theirs wasn't the kind of love that demanded attention. It was the kind that healed. Months later, the world finally discovered what had been growing in silence. At a bright, elegant art gala, Keanu and Alexandra arrived hand in hand. The cameras went wild. Social media exploded with surprise and admiration. Headlines called it the love story Hollywood didn't see coming. But for Keanu and Alexandra, none of that mattered. The flashing lights, the whispers, the attention, it was all just noise. What truly mattered was a quiet understanding between them. Behind every photograph that night was a deeper truth, the story of two souls who had finally found peace. not in perfection, not in fame, but in each other. Today, Alexandra Grant and Keanu Reeves stand together as one of Hollywood's most genuine and grounded couples, admired not for their fame, but for their authenticity. In an industry often defined by glitter, noise, and fleeting romances, their story feels like a quiet song, soft, sincere, and real. Their love isn't about red carpets or luxury. It's not about perfection or publicity. It's about truth, about seeing and being seen. Alexandra once said, "I never expected Keanu to be my date or my partner. But sometimes life surprises you in the gentlest way possible. And that's what makes their story so powerful. Love, the kind that lasts, doesn't always burst into your life with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a whisper, like sunlight slowly filling a room." Both Keanu and Alexandra had faced their share of pain, loss, and solitude. They weren't searching for a fairy tale. They were simply living, creating, healing, until one day they found comfort in each other's company. What grew from that comfort was something rare, love that asked for nothing but honesty. They didn't chase attention. They didn't perform for the cameras. They built their bond in quiet moments, painting together, sharing poetry, laughing at small things, walking hand in hand through empty streets. These weren't moments meant for the world. They were meant for them. And maybe that's why their love resonates so deeply with people everywhere. In a world full of noise, drama, and distraction, they remind us that real love doesn't need an audience. It only needs two honest hearts. Keanu once said that Alexandra brought calm into his life, a kind of peace he had long forgotten. She, in turn, found in him not the movie star the world adored, but the gentle, thoughtful soul who saw her art, her heart, and her truth. Their journey reminds us all that love isn't bound by time or circumstance. Sometimes, it doesn't find you when you're young or ready. It finds you when you've learned to understand its value. Because in the end, the most beautiful love stories aren't written in haste. They're painted slowly with trust, kindness, and time.